to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, and with thanksgiving I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, and with thanksgiving I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Ve'asuli mikdash ve'shachanti betocham va'anachnu nevarech ya me'ata ve'ad olam. Oh Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, and with thanksgiving I'll be a living sanctuary for you. Ose shalom bimromav, uyaseh shalom aleinu. Ose shalom bimromav, uyaseh shalom aleinu. Ose shalom bimromav,
Come, come, whoever you are, come, come. Come, come, whoever you are, come, come. Come, come, whoever you are, come, come. Wanderers, worshipers, lovers of freedom. It doesn't matter. This is not a caravan of despair. Come, even if you have broken your vows 1,000 times. Come, even if you have broken some promises. Come, 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 whoever you are, come, come. 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 Shabbat Shalom. Come, all of you. I love that song because it feels like such a great way to welcome, but it happens to also be Parshat Bo this week, and Bo in Hebrew, well, you guessed it, it means come. So it felt like that was a very fitting start. We welcome all of you who have come to this first Shabbat of the Gregorian New Year 2022. Those courageous ones who have braved the snow and shown up in person and Omicron, and those of you, many out there from JBS, live stream, our neighbors, our friends from all over, and we say Shabbat Shalom to you as well. Every New Year, whether it is the religious New Year or a secular New Year, it provides an opportunity for us to look back and to take stock of the year that you had, and then also to look forward with some hopefulness. As Nicole said in the robing room, she said, I just hope it's a better year. And Rabbi Lorge said, or at least just not the dumpster fire we had last year. So, whatever your hopes are for this coming year, let's take that in. Perhaps this might have been a hard week, a week of coming back from vacation and going back to work for some of us. Perhaps this was a hard week because you wanted to start all your New Year resolutions and you had to eat lots of vegetables or start exercising. Whatever it was, we are now at Shabbat, which means we're going to release all of those expectations, all of that doing. I like to think that what happened in New York is God put down a nice, soft, quiet blanket of snow to slow us down, which it did, to quiet the city a little bit, which it did. Just a message to us that no matter how much we need to get done and how much we aspire to do and how much we need to improve everything, that sometimes we also have to just stop and rest. So that's what we're going to do for Shabbat, to be reminded that right now, for this 24 hours, for this sacred palace in time, we are all perfect and enough and just as we are. So come, whoever you are, to this moment. Take a deep breath in, I hope. Let us enter into this beautiful space of music. I'm Rabbi Angela Buchdahl. I'm joined by Rabbi Nicole Auerbach, Rabbi Dan Ross, Rabbi Ari Lorge, who will be preaching tonight, and our incredible musical team here and up there, our tech team here and down there, our security and ops team, and everyone who helps make this all possible for everyone, wherever you are. So let's bring in a little light of Shabbat to help this Shabbat really start and bring in the warmth. I want to invite up Arlene Ginsberg and Annie Portnoff, who are going to be lighting Shabbat candles here with us in the Bima. And I want to invite Harrison Cohen, who is becoming Bar Mitzvah tomorrow, and his family to join us on Zoom to light from their homes. Hopefully they'll show up. There we are. Hi, Harrison. How you feeling? Good to see you. So we're going to invite you to help us all bring in a little light of Shabbat and join in these blessings. Harrison and Cohen family, we say Shabbat Shalom. It's so good to see you, and we hope that you have a beautiful celebration tomorrow, as well as the Portnoffs tomorrow as well.
We continue this evening with the Psalms of Kabbalat Shabbat on your order of service with Shiru Ladonai.
Shiru Ladonai, Shir Chadash, Shiru Ladonai, Kol Haaretz, Shiru Ladonai, Baruch Hu Shemo, Masru Miyom Le'yom Yeshuato, Sapru Vagoyim Kevodo, Bechol Ha'amim Niflotav, Ki Gadol Adonai, U'Ulam
continue with Zamru Ladonai, also on your order of service.
Lai, lai, la, la, lai, ya, la, 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 lai, lai, la, 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 lai, lai, la, la, lai, 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 ya, la, la, lai, ya, lai, 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 lai. זמרו לאדוני בכינור, בכינור בקול זמרה. בחצוצרות בקול שופר, הריעו לפני המלך אדוני.
We conclude Kabbalat Shabbat with the exquisite poetry of Lecha Dodi on page 20 in your Siddur. We will be singing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9, and on the 9th verse we will rise and greet the Sabbath through the door.
So for a new year, I wanted to bring a new Lecha Dodi, and this is a melody by Yonatan Rezel, who many of the melodies we sing are by him. He's an Israeli singer and songwriter, but he wrote this with the words of Psalm 150, which is really nice, but I wanted to sing this on Friday night, so I thought, let's put the words of Lecha Dodi to this, and with the help of Dave Strickland, we did it. So, usually Lecha Dodi has verse, chorus, and it goes back and forth. This has verse, chorus, and then a C section. The C section, the only words you need to know are Boi Kala, which means come. There's that word again, Boi Kala, come bride, or come join us. And so that's the C section. So it's very simple. I could teach it to you, but you're all wearing masks, and some of you are all out there. I think that you'll just catch on to it quickly. So for the very first verse, we're going to sing it with Lecha Dodi for the verse section, and then the chorus also, but then we'll add the verses of 1, 2, 5, and 9, as we always do, rising on the last verse. And then when I throw in that Boi Kala, you'll be ready for it. So here's how it goes, and I hope you'll sing with me. Behind your masks, behind your screens, join in on this. I'm kind of obsessed with this melody.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. The chorus. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Do that with me. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. So we'll add the first verse, Shamor v'Zachor. Shamor v'Zachor b'dibur echad, hishmianu el ha'meichad. Adonai echad u'shmo echad, l'shem no tiferet v'litchila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala,
verse, Likrat Shabbat. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'lecha, ki hi mekor haberachah, v'rosh mikedem de'esucha, sof ma'aseh v'mashchavat hilah. Lecha dodi, likrat kala. Va'orech kumi ori, uri uri shir daberi, kevod Adonai alayich nigla. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Boi v'shalom Teretz ba'ala, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי, לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי כלה, 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 בואי, בואי כלה, בואי כלה, בואי כלה, בואי כלה.
New year, new melody. That one
I think she
that's a
came, yeah.
keeper, I
That's
think, Rabbi
nice.
Buchdahl. And with the energy of those beautiful words and that beautiful melody, we turn to our call to prayer, Baruch Hu, on page 146.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך, ברכו את אדוני המבורך. ברוך אדוני המבורך, לעולם ועד. ברוך אדוני המבורך, לעולם ועד.
Please be seated. We join together in the Hebrew on page 147. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chokhmah poteach she'arim, u'bitvuna meshane itim, u'machalif et hazmanim, u'msader et hakochavim b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono. Borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or.
ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו. חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב ערבים.
We continue in the English at the bottom of page 148. In each age, we receive and transmit Torah. At each moment, we are addressed by the world.
In each age, we are challenged by our ancient teaching. At each moment, we stand face to face with truth.
In each age, we add our wisdom to that which has gone before. At each moment, the knowing heart is filled with wonder.
In each age, the children of Torah become its builders and seek to set the world firm on a foundation of truth.
Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובמלאכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם מאוד על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Before we sing the Mi Chamocha, I wanted to talk about someone who was a redemptive force in my own life. This week we mark the 11th yahrzeit of Debbie Friedman, a singer-songwriter who truly changed the sound of Jewish music. Her first album, Sing Unto God, in 1972, incorporated the folk sounds of Joan Baez and Peter, Paul and Mary and guitar accompaniment into traditionally staid Jewish prayers. First, she took the Jewish camp scene by storm, and then, before long, her music infiltrated into synagogue prayer services as well, much to the chagrin of many traditional cantors. Now, I first learned Debbie Friedman music when I was 8 years old in a youth choir, and at the time, my synagogue didn't have a cantor. We had a professional choir that sang classical reform melodies out of a hymnal, and they didn't sound like you guys, I promise. Singing Sing Unto God was like a revelation to me. I, for the first time, loved singing Jewish music. And she not only changed the sound of Jewish music, but even what we sang about. It was Debbie Friedman who was probably most responsible for the healing movement and the fact that now almost every synagogue in the world will have a section where they really focus on a moment for healing for people in the community. And she lifted up people who weren't always lifted up in Jewish music, in particular women, who often had no songs written about them or any prayers. And one of my favorites was Miriam's song. Of course, Moses got his song. It was called the Song of the Sea, and we sang a piece of it in every service. It's called the Mi Chamocha. We're about to sing it in a few seconds here. But the Torah says that after Moses got to sing his big song, that Miriam led all the women in singing their song. And now that used to be just a footnote in the Torah, it seemed like. But with Debbie's song, she really put Miriam and the women and the stories of so many unsung heroes into front and center. Debbie was also a mentor and a friend to me, and one of the things I loved about her was that she was not only deeply spiritual, she was always hysterically irreverent as well. And tonight is her 11th yard site, as I said, and all I could think of was that line from Spinal Tap. I hope you'll forgive me, Debbie. When the rocker points out that the special amplifier doesn't stop at 10 like all the other speakers, he says, this one goes to 11. You know, when we need that little extra push to get us over the cliff, he said. Well, Debbie, she had that something extra special that made life a little more soulful, more vibrant, more alive. Debbie, she went to 11. We miss you, Debbie, and all that you brought us. We turn to this redemptive prayer of Mi Chamocha on page 152. Oops, sorry. Yai, lai, lai, la, lai, la, 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 lai, 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 la, lai, la, 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 lai, 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 la, lai, la, 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 lai, lai, la, 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 lai, la, 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 lai. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha neda b'kodesh, Torah tehillah posefet, Torah tehillah posefet. Yai, lai, yai, lai, lai, la, lai, la, 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 lai, 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 la, lai, la, 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 lai, 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 la, lai, la, 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 lai, lai, la, 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 lai, la, 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 lai. And the women dancing with their timbrels, all of Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced all night long. Now Miriam was a weaver of unique variety. The tapestry she wore was one which sang her history. With every thread and every thread she crafted her delight. A woman touched with spirit, she dances for the light. And the women dancing with their timbrels, all of Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced all night long. Lai, 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 la, lai, la, 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 lai, 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 la, lai, la, 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 lai, 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 la, lai, la, 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 lai, lai, la, 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 lai, ya, la, lai, lai, lai.
This past week, as we've taken in, on a different note, many solemn remembrances of the events of last year's January 6th insurrection at the Capitol, one particular image has stood out to me, that of Capitol Police Officer and U.S. Army veteran Eugene Goodman, who, as rioters were approaching an unimpeded path to the Senate chamber that was still under evacuation, tricked the mob into following him in the opposite direction. That day, Officer Goodman bravely put his own life on the line to protect others. And so as we turn to Hashkivenu this evening, our prayer for God's protection, we pray especially for God to protect the Officer Goodmans of this world, to keep safe those who keep us safe. Hashkivenu is on your order of service.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu malkeinu l'chaim Hashkivenu Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu malkeinu Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us with wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashkiveinu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom. V'hamidenu Malkeinu l'chayim. Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Hashkiveinu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom. V'hamidenu Malkeinu
We continue with the Amidah on page 155. We invite you to rise.
Ya la 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 Adonai. Ya la 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 Sfatai tiftach. Ya la 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 Ufi yagid. Ufi yagid Tehilatecha. Ya la 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 Adonai. Ya la 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 Sfatai tiftach. Ya la 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 Ufi yagid. Ufi yagid Tehilatecha. Ya la 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 Adonai. Ya la 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 Sfatai tiftach. Ya la 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 Ufi yagid. Ufi yagid Tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Norah, Eloyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, v'Konei Hakol, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואמהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיים איתי, אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מחכה חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים,
ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בגבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים כל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
We continue in silence with the words on the page or the words in your heart, seated or standing, as is your custom.
May I feel safe. May I be free. May I find space to just be. Can you hear that song? Can you hear that song? May I find my way back home. Can you hear that song? Can you hear that song? May I find my way back home. This is an adaptation of the priestly benediction by our friend Alana Arian. Such a beautiful blessing. And I want you to imagine someone who needs to hear this blessing, someone you love, someone you just know. Can you picture them in your mind? Or if you want to say their name, you can say it. Let's offer this prayer for them. May you feel safe. May you be free. on the streets of our city who are shivering tonight in this snow, people who think they have been forgotten. But let's pray for all of them. Let's pray for all of us, that we may all feel the sense of safety. May we feel safe. May we feel free. May we find space to just be. Can you hear our song? Can you hear our song? Can you hear our song? May we find our way back home. Can you hear our song? Can you hear our song? May we find our way back home.
I see I'm not the only one who has had Alana Arian's voice in my head this week. Her new album has been the soundtrack for me this week, and one of the lines from it, she has another song, Koli Ekra, and as with many things, I had to look it up and say, well, where did that come from? And it comes from Psalm 27. Which says, Shema Adonai, Koli Ekra, hear my voice, O God, I am crying out. And our book of Psalms is this extraordinary anthology of ancient poetry because it really encompasses the full range of human emotion, from praise and gratitude to anger and sorrow, and most of all to the desire to be safe and not to be alone. And I think this line, Shema Adonai, listen, Adonai, Koli Ekra, hear my voice, I am crying out, epitomizes that. Because when we're suffering, we know that what we need more than anything in our hearts is for those cries to be heard, to know that people are there who love us and that we are connected to something that is larger than our pain, to the source of life and love itself. So as we prepare for our prayer for healing, we turned our minds and our hearts to those whose voices are calling out to us and to God for comfort and strength. We in the Central community are lifting up the voices of these members of our community in need of healing. Kathy Barron, Eileen Berger, Simcha Ben-Sara, Donald Brief, Grayson Schuyler Bloom, Jerry Calderon, Lou Chen, Alexander Cohen, Joel Deutsch, Arden Donahue, Corey Flom, Jerry Friedman, Susan Friedman, Ziggy Galit, Ann Gresser, Zelik Gresser, Howard Hochberg, the James family, Karen Koppel-Konitz, Melissa Kaufman, Alfred Collar, Kendall March, Erwin Merkatz, Cordelia Miras, Carrie Miller, Bobby Palmer, Kurt Pliskin, Carrie Schuppert-Roberts, Sandy Schupper, Lynn Silverman, Michael Simon, Candace Smilo, Bill Smith, Francine Wolpe, and Mona Wolpe. If you or someone you love is in need of healing, please call out now and share their names so that we can hold them in our communal prayers. And for all of these, we offer this prayer for healing.
Mi sheberach avoteinu mekor habracha leimoteinu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen.
Psalm 84, the psalmist says to God, "Happy are those who dwell in your house. They will sing your praises forever." And of course, if we believe that God's presence fills the universe, then we are all always dwelling in God's house. It's just easy to forget sometimes. The secret of this verse is that we can find joy by remembering that we live in God's house and to give thanks for the blessings that we have received. As is our custom here, I will offer a number of reasons that you might be particularly joyful this evening, and if one applies to you, I invite you to stand and remain standing. If you are becoming B'nai Mitzvah tomorrow or are celebrating with a loved one who is, the families of Harrison and Norma, we invite you to stand. Mazel tov, we can't wait to learn from you. If you celebrated a birthday in the past week or will in the week to come, I see a particular birthday celebrator here who is beloved to so many of us. Happy birthday.
Milestone.
A milestone birthday.
90.
90. Everyone who is used to getting the Laura wave, wave back to Laura for her birthday right now. Lots of love.
Stay tuned for her baby naming, which is coming up soon. Hebrew naming.
If you celebrated an anniversary in the past week or will in the week to come, I invite you to rise. If you have a child in your life who is age 12 to 15 and is now eligible for a booster shot, please rise and celebrate that. We are so excited. If you are a winter person and appreciate the snow, finally, after what has been an unseasonably warm winter, I see Rabbi Lord standing. I knew he would. I knew I could count on you. Please rise. And if you are, like me, not a winter person and are particularly grateful for the warmth of your home, for the cozy blankets and the hot drinks that are going to get you through the rest of this seasonably cold winter, I invite you to rise. And if you are just grateful to have made it to another year and another Shabbat, I invite you to rise so that we can celebrate together with the words of Shehechianu.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kimanu הזמן הזה.
Be seated.
What are the most important verses of the Torah? Maybe the Shema, 10 Commandments. I want to make the case for 10 obscure verses. As we read the Exodus story, we often focus on how our ancestors were freed. And it makes sense, it's the clear focus. It takes 407 verses to tell the story of how we escaped Egypt and regained our freedom. It takes hundreds more verses for those freed slaves to become a people. But the narrative does not begin with our people free. It begins with, the narrative does begin with our people free. It doesn't begin with them enslaved. The children of Israel at the beginning of the book of Exodus lose their freedom in a matter of 10 verses. There's almost no detail in those 10 verses about how a people once integral to society lost their freedoms. So why not tell us that story? Why such a terse account of the fall of Israel into slavery? A mere 10 verses. Well, it's not because that story is unimportant. Rather, this is Torah's way to communicate to us that freedoms are easier lost than won. To attain a freedom is the work of decades, even generations. But to lose a freedom, it can happen quickly, and it can easily cascade into the loss of liberty entirely. Torah doesn't need to tell us what that looks like. Sadly, our people know all too well. In 1958, Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, a witness to the Nazi rise to power, wrote this. He said, "It's dangerous to take human freedom for granted. The insecurity of freedom is a bitter fact of historical experience. In times of unemployment, vociferous demagogues are capable of leading the people into a state of mind in which they are ready to barter their freedom for any bargain. In times of prosperity, hidden persuaders are capable of leading the same people into selling their conscience for success." Outside of a Jewish state, it is only within a democracy like America that Jews have and can find a secure home. For so many of our families, it was on these shores that we first encountered what we ought not take for granted: citizenship and the rights and freedoms that make us equal to our neighbors. For others, America is where our families fled when their freedoms evaporated around them. And while America proffered the promise of these freedoms, it was our ancestors' stewardship and vigilance that made them real. It has been the ongoing work of generations to take the promise of American freedom and wrestle it into a reality. All the more reason to reckon with Heschel's warning. For we live in a time of both prosperity and poverty, a moment of economic inequality not seen in generations. As Heschel forewarned, we've experienced both the demagogue's mob and the purchasing of the consciences of the powerful. And we stand a year removed from the pinnacle of that dangerous confluence. It is 1 year and 1 day since a mob of seditionists stormed the United States Capitol. It remains a surreal day. We watched the unthinkable unfold. Our seat of government plundered and desecrated, police officers assaulted and murdered while pleading for their lives, and vigilantes roaming the halls of Congress hunting down lawmakers. As horrific as it was to watch in real time, what has come to light since makes it clear we came closer than we cared to admit to the undoing of our democracy. It was worse than we could know from the distance of our screens. And for Jews, these images and videos prickled at generational trauma. We have spent most of our history living under the threat of the mob, of vigilantes, of tyrants. We've known more subjugation than freedom. And therefore, we are ultra-sensitive and must remain ultra-sensitive to any eroding of liberty in America. Because we know what we stand to lose in a matter of 10 verses. We ourselves have witnessed how quickly the world can turn upside down, and we know how long that night can last once it descends upon us. And while the insurrection was not able to overturn the election, What is clear a year later is that these forces have not stopped their attempts to curb enshrined rights. They've simply changed the arena. In 2021, 19 states passed 34 laws restricting voting rights, and more are on the dockets for 2022. Many of these laws, I don't need to tell you, disproportionately impact historically disenfranchised communities. The mob decided if it can't overturn an election, it will control who votes. We know the feeling of the disenfranchised, having ourselves been disenfranchised in Egypt, in Babylon, in Rome, in Christendom, and in the Caliphate. And these experiences are what have spurred Jews to be on the vanguard of the fight for voting rights in America. We must recommit ourselves to that. We must urge legislators to pass a new Voting Rights Act. We can support the work of the ACLU or the League of Women's Voters or the NAACP. We can participate in voter registration drives. We can participate in letter writing campaigns. Because the work of a citizen does not occur once every 4 years. It must be regular. It must be routine. And there is no more important freedom to stand for than our right to cast a vote and have it counted. The mob has also decided not only to control who votes if it can, but also who oversees the voting. They've spent a year terrorizing election officials of all political ideologies. Now, these officials do nonpartisan work organizing elections and ensuring that they are fair and secure. And they're retiring at an alarming rate because of violence and the threats of violence leveled against them and their families. A survey of election officials this spring found that 1 in 3 election officials feel unsafe. Nearly 1 in 5 listed threats to their life as a job-related concern. And partisan lawmakers are adding fuel to the fire, passing laws to impose heavy fines on officials for minor infractions, as well as wresting control of certification from these nonpartisan actors. The situation is so dire that a leading Republican and a leading Democratic election lawyer have come together to create something new, the Election Official Legal Defense Network. So we can support their work and others like them if we want to ensure that we have a nonpartisan administration for our system of casting and counting ballots. We can also get involved locally. We can sign up to be poll workers. We can support and get involved in our local boards of elections, and we ought to. But there is a larger, more troubling trend that demands our attention and our activism. Violence has permeated the fabric of our society. January 6th did not happen in a vacuum, but what was once extreme has become increasingly mainstream. German Jewish essayist Kurt Tucholsky wrote in 1935, "A country is not only what it does, but also what it tolerates." The more we tolerate violence and hateful acts or rhetoric, the more we excuse bigotry and vulgarity, the more we aid in the slipping of our society towards extremism. Summarizing Adam Smith's position on how we create a decent society, Russ Roberts suggests that all of us have 2 parts to play. First, each of us should be decent, even if we can get away with being cruel or fraudulent or base. But we also, he writes, have a part to play in encouraging others to behave well. And that is to honor those who are honorable and to dishonor those who are dishonorable. It seems small. It seems minuscule. It maybe even seems naive. but there is no mass meeting where our society sets our standards and our norms. They are forged invisibly through the acquiescence or protest of everyday people each and every day. And now we see we have tolerated much, far too much. It is time to be vocally intolerant of violence and of threats and of hate. For when we excuse these things, when we minimize them, and when we fail to push against them, we inherit the mob. And the mob has never been a friend to freedom or to the Jews. It took 407 verses to regain our freedom. And it took 10 verses to lose it. How does it happen? Demagogues, discontented mobs, and the powerful selling their consciences. But so too it happens when we fall asleep on our watch. President Johnson summed up this notion in his inaugural. He said, "In each generation, with toil and tears, we have had to earn our heritage again. And if we fail now, then we will have forgotten in abundance what we have learned in hardship. That democracy rests on faith. That freedom asks more than it gives. It asks much. May we prove ready to answer."
Thank you, Rabbi Lorge, for those powerful words and your call to justice. Aleinu, it is on us. We turn to that word, Aleinu, on page 282. Please rise.
Aleinu shabeach ladon hakol, לתת גאולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו גויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו להם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
Please be seated. ויתקדש שמי רבה.
The poet W.S. Merwin writes, "Your absence has gone through me like thread through a needle. Everything I do is stitched with its color." And so it is for those of us who have lost ones we love. The fabric of our days is forever colored by the lessons they taught, the love they gave, and the sudden, life-altering reality of their absence. Years later, we look back at the warp and weft of our lives and see the richness that their presence added to who we have become, and how their absence is slowly filled in with love. We turn our hearts now to the memories of those who continue to color our lives. We are grateful that we have no deaths of armed services members to report this week, but unfortunately, as always, we do name a few of those who lost their lives to mass shootings this week in this country, including Corey DeBose, Cedric McCord, Aubrey Lewis, and Nathaniel Harris, all of Gulfport, Mississippi. In recent weeks, Central Synagogue has lost the following loved ones: Martin Armis, husband of Sue, brother of Sheldon, father of Lauren Levin and Steve; Annie Calderon, aunt of Jerry; Ellen Cohen, mother of Karen Bilzen; Judith Cohen, mother of Leslie Seiben and David Shalit; Gary Friedenberg, father of Joanna Berman and Stephen Friedenberg; Gerald Keel, husband of Roberta, father of Dana Hornstein and Julie Sabetsko; Estelle Rothenberg, mother of Jackie Friedman and Ernie Roth; and Shirley Kent, the mother of Joan. We also mark and recognize and lift up the memories of those who left us in this season in years past, whose yardsites fall on this date: Ethel Abramowitz, Eliezer Agabs, Lillian Falk Altschuler, Eugene Ahrens, Gertrude Aronson, Erwin Martin Ballett, Joseph Beredes, Bonnie Berman, Asher Blum, Peter Blumberg, Anita Blumenfeld, Barbara Bright, William Bumstead, James Burns, Zoe Annabelle Calderon, Camille Shemtob, Robert Coles, Susan Cutler, Monte Daniels, Ellis Dobson, Michelle Dimadig, Burton Edelson, Kenneth Edelson, Phyllis Elstein, Phyllis Feldman, Lorraine Fink, Melvin Fisher, Barry Fishman, Ethel Friedman, Lottie Freeman, Alfred Friedman, Beatrice Friess, Jay Furman, Gertrude Gang, Howard Gans, Mark Glatzer, Jewel Glatzer, Ruth Glickman, Jerome Goldfisher, Peter Harpel, Bernice Hecht, Carrie Hoffman, Hilda Johnson, May Kahn, B. David Kane, Evelyn Kane, George Kaplan, Cookie Kay, Ted Kirsch, Martin Klebanoff, Werner Kolb, Magda Kopek, Florence Kugel, Abraham Label, Sarah Langer, Leo Langer, Joseph H. Lauder, Samuel Lashinsky, Ruth Levine, Leonard Miller, Sion Monasabian, Peter Morse, Bertram Muddick, Madeline Newman, Bertram Nightingale, Wayne Olmsted, Jean Paper, Hannah Perelson, Muriel Paulin, Claire Pomerantz, Max Pomerantz, Gerald Pont, Vera Propp, Israel Rabinowitz, Ida Sarah Reich, Irma Resnick, Victor Riesel, Robert Rosen, Gary Rosenzweig, Linda Rosenthal, Irving Rubin, Michael Saltzman, Sandra Saltzman, Sarah Saslaw, Gary Savage, Selma Simon, Melvin Sloan, Mildred Sparrow, Matthew Sturman, Teresa Stutchner, Thomas Toohey, Cheryl Tuttle, Lothar Weichsel, Hilda Rosalind Weiss-Gabrilov, Julian Wiener, Edith Rolfe, and Ruth Zwieben. If you are in the first 7 days of mourning, the period of Shiva, I invite you to rise in honor of your loved one at this time. And if you're in the first 30 days, the period of Shloshim, I invite you to rise. If you're within the first year of mourning, I invite you to rise in honor of the one you've lost. And if you are marking a yahrzeit, an anniversary of death this evening, I invite you to rise. And now, with all those that we have named and those we're holding in our hearts, and those who have no one left to say Kaddish for them, we rise as one community for the words of Kaddish Yatom on page 294. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach yiruteh ve'amlich malchuteh, b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chaye dechol b'it Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach ve'alam u'amei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitale v'yitalal shmei dekudesha barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechamata. Damiram be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen.
Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
I realize that unlike the confirmation student who might be here, I actually don't have the announcements, but I am going to say thank you to everyone for joining us for Shabbat services. We are so excited to celebrate with our B'nai Mitzvah tomorrow morning, starting at 9:30. We hope you can join us for those. That will be live streamed, so we hope you can join us at home. Here we go. And we have many exciting things that are coming up. Our winter classes are starting, so I hope you will check out our website to see everything we have on offer, including an amazing series by Rabbi David Ellenson called Shades of Gray, a Jewish approach to issues of moral complexity, which I know I can't wait for, and also a class on autobiographical poetry with Jess Greenbaum, who it should just be fantastic. So
I also want to just note
Yes.
that next week, the Shabbat before Martin Luther King Day, we have always a special Shabbat here, and we are very blessed to be bringing in a guest preacher, and I hope that you will join us for that service as well, either by live stream or in person if you're able to join.
Yes, actually, Dr. Timothy Atkins-Jones will be joining us for a coffee with clergy on Thursday. He will join us to offer words of inspiration on Friday, and then he will be leading a special class and Havdalah with us on Saturday evening. So we have a whole Scholar in Residence weekend for Martin Luther King weekend next weekend. With that said, I'll invite you, would you like to come up and join us for the Kiddush, Norma?
I'll give you 6 feet here. You hold it. Ready? We'll join together on page 5 on Kiddush. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho le'ahava u'ratzon hinchilanu zikaron le'maaseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila le'mikra'e kodesh zecher letziat Mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta Yotanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava u'v'ratzon hinchaltanu baruch atah Adonai v'kadesh ha'shabbat.
Amen.
you can leave your mask on. That's fine too. But we'll ceremoniously, we know you're saying a l'chaim for us, Norma. And we'll say motzi.
Oh, just before we do motzi, I just wanted to say we have a bat mitzvah arc blessing this evening with Ella Rosso, so she'll be joining us on the arc after services. So
wonderful.
Just wanted to speak.
Beautiful. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. So you know what? I'll let you take that with you because that is your Kiddush cup now. Rabbi Lorge, with gratitude for such a remarkable and powerful drash and much to chew on, and you should ceremoniously eat for us as well, from the matzah, the challah, excuse me. Do you know what I'm thinking? I want to close with another Debbie Friedman song in honor of her yard site that just felt sort of fitting for, I don't know, this moment. The text itself, I believe, comes from Proverbs. I'm going to just double check that. But the words are that you turn my mourning into dancing. And so whatever it is that has been hard that we're leaving behind, it's not Proverbs, it's Psalm 30. We thank God for the opportunity to transform what has been hard into something joyful and prayerful. Let's see. You turn my mourning into dancing, so that my soul might sing to you. So that my soul sing to you, and it not be still. You turn my mourning into dancing, so that my soul might sing to you. So that my soul sing to you, and it not be still. Oh God, my God, forever I will thank you. Oh God, my God, forever I will thank you. Oh now I sing praises to the Holy One, who lifts me up when I am fallen. And I cry for you to heal me, and you have answered all my prayers. Now I sing praises to the Holy One, who lifts me up when I am fallen. And I cry for you to heal me, and you have answered all my prayers. Oh God, my God, forever I will thank you. Oh God, my God, forever I will thank you. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.